Okay, are we live? Awesome. Let's give it a few. Starting a little early today because it's gorgeous outside and I want to be outside. Get some of that sun. Let's give it a few seconds while that's happening. Uh, Appreciation to one chatter from the last live stream. I appreciate you. Thank you. Uh, Only one individual was chatting with me during the last live stream, so thank you for that. Anyone that's watching, please let me know that you are able to hear me. Just shoot me a quick chat. Says, yep, I hear you, or let me know where you're from. All right, so we are just gonna get right into it. All right, guys, welcome back to the server room, episode 77. You saw the title, Configuring Inter-VLAN Routing. I'm using Cisco Packet Tracer. I got my notepad right here, my pen, taking notes. So let's just get right into it. So let me just make sure we are good. Okay, let's get right into it. All right. So hopefully you guys are able to see my desktop. I have my notes, always have my notes. So inter-VLAN routing with Cisco Packet Tracer. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna drop a couple of objects within our workspace within Cisco Packet Tracer. I'm gonna drop in, let's drop in 2 PCs. Okay. And we are going to drop a switch. The switch that we are going to drop here would be a 2960 right in the middle. Awesome. And we're also going to drop a router. So let's get into the router. The router that we are going to use, let me take a look at my notes. We're going to use an 1841 router. So let's look for the 1841 router. Where are you? 1841. Awesome. Okay. Now from here, let's configure the 2 PCs. Both PCs are going to be in a different VLAN. So I'm going to go into desktop IP. I'm going to give a static IP for both of them. They're going to be 10.0.0.10. The mask is going to be 255. There we go, 2550. Don't need to give the default gateway. I mean, I could give the default gateway if I want. Let's give it the default gateway. There you go, it won't hurt. And I'm going to copy the IP and I'm going to go into configure and the display. I'm going to switch it to the IP. Awesome. What happened? There it goes. Let's configure this one. This one is going to be VLAN 10. The second PC, I'm going to add it to VLAN 20. So both of them are going to have a different IP address. For this one, we're going to give it 10.20.0.10, subnet of 24, which is 255.255.255.0, and default gateway is 10.20.0.1. Okay, I'm going to copy this IP. Going to go into config. We're going to switch the display to the following. Awesome. Let's connect. Actually, let's not connect anything as of yet. Let's configure our switch. Let's get into our switch. See, okay. Command. I don't have anything here. I'm getting into the enabled. It's not asking me for a password, so automatically this tells you I don't have it configured. Showing a run config, nothing is configured at all on this switch. So I typically have like a template that I could just drop and do everything right away. We're able to configure everything. Let's configure everything from scratch, but I'm gonna do it pretty quick. And let me zoom in so you guys can have a better look. And I'm gonna do this pretty fast, but I will go over it. So we're gonna get into config terminal. We're gonna change the host name to switch one. You are able to give it whatever you want. As soon as we do that, it changes it to switch one. Awesome. We're going to do a IP domain name and give it your domain. Awesome. We're going to create a username, which would be admin, and we're going to give it a secret of Cisco. We're going to enable with the secret, and the password would be Cisco. We're going to configure our SSH by generating a RS key, right? Probably don't see that, so I'm gonna zoom out, and we're gonna do a modulus of 1024, hit enter, beautiful. We're going to do an IP SSHv2 for version 2. We're gonna do a line console of 0. We're gonna do a login local. We're gonna do a line VTY04. We are going to do a login local again. We're going to do a transport of input SSH. Awesome. Okie dokie. And I'm just gonna do this like really, really basic. Okay, zoom in one more time. All right, so we are going to exit out of here. I'm gonna configure all the ports, but we're gonna go back in and then reconfigure them to fit what we want. But this is like a basic configuration on this switch. So I'm gonna do a interface range, because I'm gonna hit all the interfaces, take care of them in one shot. This is 24 ports. We're also going to take care of the 2 gigabit ports that we have on this switch. We're going to do a switch mode access. This is like a really basic configuration on this switch, and then we are going to go in and then configure it for today's setting. So switch put access, let's do VLAN 10. VLAN 10 is not there, so it's going to create it for us. Awesome. We're going to do a switch port of non-negotiate, and then we're going to do a spanning tree of port fast. Hit enter. Awesome. Beautiful. From here, we're going to exit out. We're going to get into the interface VLAN 10, and VLAN interface goes up, which is great. We're going to give an IP address to this, which would be 2 with a subnet of 24. So guys can't probably see that. So let me zoom out. Excellent. We're going to do a no shut, and we're going to give it, if you want, you could give it an IP default gateway of 10.0.0.0.1. Enter. Let's exit out of here. Let's do a copy run start, hit enter. Now if we do a show run config, now our switch is configured. Now this is like really basic, okay? We're just configuring it basic level. We're not doing anything too extreme. So let's close out of here and let's configure our router. Let's close this. Let's rename this. This is switch 1. This one, we're gonna call it primary router. And we're also going to change the host name. Now, I don't think I made a video configuring a router. For initial configuration, I say no because I want to do everything manually. But I'm just going to drop basic settings on this 1841. So I'm going to get into enable. Zoom in so you guys can take a better, take a closer look. We're going to get into the config terminal. Awesome. Let's give it a host name of primary router. Awesome. We're going to do an IP domain name and give your domain, whatever domain you have. Beautiful. Zoom out. Awesome. From here, we're going to do a line console 0. Awesome. We're going to do password Cisco. We're going to do a login. We're going to do a line auxiliary 0. We're going to do a password of Cisco. We're going to do login, and we're going to exit. From here, we're going to enable secret with the password of Cisco. We're going to do service. I think that's service password encryption. I think it is. Oops. Service. There it goes. Password, spelled it wrong. Service password encryption. Awesome. Let's do a line console. Spelled line wrong. Zoom in. Line console 0. And logging synchronous. Oops, spelled that wrong. SY. Beautiful. And we're going to do a line auxiliary 0 with a logging synchronous. Beautiful. Let's configure our SSH. So it's the same process that we did on the switch. So we're going to do a key generate. Exit out of here. Crypto key generate RSA general keys. We're going to do a modulus of 1024. Hit enter there. Awesome. Like we did on the switch, we're able to do it on the router. So let's do the IP SSH. We're going to do a V2. We're going to establish a username, BTNHD. Actually, admin. Let's do a secret. Oops. Cisco. Awesome. Live BTY04. Let's do a transport input SSH. Awesome. Login local. Login. Beautiful. All right. So let's exit out of here. Exit. Let's do copy, run, start. Let's do a show run config. And all right, everything is configured. Port 0 and port 1 are not configured, but we are going to configure it. So I basically just gave it the rundown. I'm able to SSH into it. I changed the host name and I gave it a secret and all that good stuff. Very basic stuff. Okay. So now, minimize this. Okay. Now, everything is configured. So let's connect stuff. So let's hit the lightning bulb. We're going to do a straight through. This guy right here, first Ethernet port, we're going to set it to 03. And for this, we're going to give it or hook it up to 04. Now for this guy right here, router 00 is going to go into 01. And 01 is going to go into 02. Awesome. So nicely connected. Awesome. So let's start configuring our VLANs. So on switch 1, we already have VLAN 10. So VLAN 10 automatically is going to be for this guy. And the port where this guy is connected, which is 03. If we look at our show run config, let's scroll all the way up. Port 3 is already configured for VLAN 10, which is great. And port 4 is still configured as VLAN 10, but we need to actually configure this 04 to VLAN 20 because we want this to get VLAN 20. And for the router, we got to configure each port to have the proper, gateway for it to work properly. So let's go here. All right, let's go right into it. Let me zoom in. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to get into config terminal. We're going to do VLAN 20. As soon as you do VLAN 20, it's going to create VLAN 20, right? Actually, it's going to get into VLAN, but it's not going, I think it creates it. We need to configure our ports that are talking directly to the router. So the switch, which we are in right now, the switch port 1 and port 2 are configured or connected to the router. Port 2, yeah, port 2 on the switch, we need to configure it into VLAN 20 because we want that to be on VLAN 20. So we're going to do fast Ethernet 02. We're going to get into that. We're going to do a switch port access VLAN 20. Awesome. Zoom out. And let's exit out of here. Exit out of here. We're going to do a show run config. And now port 2, which is connected to the router, is VLAN 20. Now on the router side, we have to configure port those 2 ports to the correct VLAN, which we are going to do. I made some modifications on switch 1, so we are going to do a copy run start, or you could do a WR write memory. You could do whichever one. So that's already saved. Now, looking at my notes, that's why I'm like quiet, because I had everything like written down, so I have to make sure everything. Okay, router 00. It's gonna go into that. Okay. All right, so let's get into the router. And I can't stand when I can't see this. So 00. All right, so okay, so that's connected. 2 is connected, but on the switch, I forgot I need to configure this port here to talk to be on the same VLAN. So let's get into that. Let's get into config T. All right, let's go into interface 04. 04 is actually hooked up to that PC, and that PC is 1020, which is going to be on VLAN 20. So we are going to do a switch port access VLAN 20. Beautiful. And that's it. That's about it. We can exit out of here. Exit. We do a WR to write memory. Let's do it one more time. Beautiful. Let's do a show run config and just look at our ports. Okay, 1020, good, and 4 is 20. All right, perfect. Awesome. Come on, there we go. All right, so let's get into the router and let's configure these 2 ports. So we're going to get into config T. We're going to get into the first port, which would be fast interface fast 00. We're going to give it the IP address of 10.0.0.1.255.255.255.0. Awesome. We're going to do a no shut. Beautiful. That brings it up. Good. We're going to do an interface of fast Ethernet 01. And this IP address is going to be 1020, oops, period 1020.01, which would be the default gateway for that PC. We're going to do a no shutdown. That's going to bring up that. We're going to exit out of here, exit out of here. We're going to do a copy run start, hit enter. Awesome. Let's do a show run config to look at our settings. Beautiful. So Ethernet fast, interface fast Ethernet 00 is this IP address, which is the default gateway for VLAN 10. Perfect. And we have internet fast Ethernet 01, which is this IP address, which would be the VLAN 20's default gateway. Right? Okay. Now, within the router, I didn't declare any. If I do a show, I think VLAN is the IP. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I didn't declare any IPs. I mean, not IPs. I didn't declare any VLANs on it. But everything is green. The way we could test it would be, let's get into PC. Let's ping some stuff. So let's move this here. Let's ping 10.0.0. Come on. Perfect. 10.0.0.2 is actually the IP address of this switch. So okay, that's the IP for this switch. And I should be able, close that, got too many things open. There we go. First one should be a request timeout, and that's ARP kicking in. All right, ARP needs to get pre-populated onto the switch. Now all pins, which is good. Awesome. Now let's see if I'm able to do 10.0.0.1, which is the default gateway. Excellent. Remember, the default gateway is actually the router, which is excellent. All right, so that's working. Let's do 10.20.10. So let's go to desktop and let's go to command prompt. Let's see if we could pin 10.20, which is the default gateway. We're able to ping that. That's beautiful. Awesome. Great. Now, let's get into this console. Let's see if the routing and everything is working properly. Let's get in it. Awesome. I feel like if I do 10.20.0.1, should be able to get a ping. Awesome. So the router is actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's routing everything. If everything works well, I should be able to ping this machine. Now the first request, oh, look at that, straight. Typically the first request would time out, and that's just ARP doing this thing, but I'm able to ping everything. So if we go into this machine, right, and I'm able to ping the default gateway of 10.0.0.1, boom. So we actually did the trunking perfect on this machine. And if we do 10.0.0.1 and hit enter, awesome. So this right here, sir, is we just configured this workspace into like access mode, switch mode access, basically. That is how we configured this setting right here. This PC, which is on a different IP address, is on the correct VLAN, is able to go into the switch, go into the router. The router is going to route it properly to the destination. If I'm trying to ping this guy, which is on VLAN 10, the router is going to route it and do everything for us and route that ping to this. It receives it and it's going to reply back to the sender. Okay, awesome. So we just did that. So let's save. I have a name for this. So let's go to File, Save As. And let's go into here. A lot of folders. We're going to go here. Got a folder for this, and let's give it that. So this was an Inter-VLAN router with two interfaces. So we configured a router with two interfaces. One interface, which is port 0, which was set to VLAN 10, and port 1 on the router was configured for VLAN 20. Okay. On the router level, we did not create any VLANs. What we did was define the default gateway for our machines, for our VLANs. Okay. Now, I think that's considered switch mode access. So that's how we did this configuration. This entire thing is considered like a switch mode access kind of thing. But there's a lot of different scenarios. The next one that we're going to do is a trunk mode, switch port mode trunk. But for here, we're actually going to eliminate one of these lines on the router to the switch. So I actually have a name. So this is saved. I'm going to do a save as. And boom, awesome. So we're going to configure router with one interface. Delete connection router. Yeah, I feel like 0304. Okay, so let's kill this line. Awesome. So 00 to 01 is what we need to configure. Now on 01 on the switch level, let's configure that. Let's do a config T. Let's do a, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 01. So 01 is already configured. So what we could do is let's do a default interface 0. Which one are we doing? 01. 01. So, oops. Default interface fast 01. Excellent. So we erased everything within port 1. Everything was wiped clean. Cool. So from here, I'm going to zoom in. Let's get into Internet Fast 01. We need to configure that. And we're going to configure it the following. So let's do a switch port mode trunk. All right. That brings up the line. Awesome. Let's do a switch port trunk allowed VLAN. Now, right here, because remember, we are configuring interface 01. 01 is now going to act as a pipeline for VLAN 10 and 20. So we got to configure this port on this switch to act that way. So switch port trunk allow VLAN what? 10, VLAN 10, comma, and 20. Let's do a switch port of non-negotiate, hit enter, beautiful. Let's exit out. I'm gonna do a copy run start, hit enter, awesome. Let's do a show run config. If I'm doing it too fast, let me know. Okay, beautiful, awesome. Let's minimize this. So port 3, port 4, port 3 is on VLAN 10, port 4 is on VLAN 20, port 1, which is directly connected to the router, is now allowing VLAN 10 and 20. Okay, so let's close that up. Excellent. Let's get into the router. Beautiful. And the router now is 0000 connected to 01. So what we are going to do within the router, let's clear up those 2 ports. So I am going to get into config T, if I can spell it right. Awesome. We're going to do a default interface fast 00100. I'm going to hit the arrow key up and just change the 0 to 1. Boom. That clears out both configurations for interface 0 and 1. So if we do a show run copy, we're going to see that our ports are clean. Awesome. Let's get into config T. At the moment, 00 is what we need to configure. So 00, we're going to get into interface fast Ethernet 00 or F. Awesome. We're going to do a no shutdown. Beautiful. Now, because this port within the router needs to house 2 VLANs, VLAN 10 and 20, to manipulate and route everything properly within the network, we're going to be using sub interfaces. So to create a sub interface within the router, and I'm going to do the sub interface within port 0, this is how we start it. We are going to do, let's exit out of here. Awesome. And we're going to do interface fast Ethernet 0/0. But before you hit enter, we're going to put a period 10. Period 10, period, and whatever number you give it is basically your VLAN. So this is going to be a sub interface of my VLAN 10. Let's hit enter. Awesome. It brings the state up. Beautiful. Before we continue, we need to do ECAP .1Q. And here, the .1Q, you have to give it a number. Typically, a lot of people will use the number of the VLAN. So I'm configuring VLAN 10. So the .1Q is going to be 10. Enter. Now, we're going to provide it the IP address, which would be the default gateway. So let's do that. Provide the subnet. Subnet is 24, which is 255.255.255.0. Hit enter. Let's do a no shut. Beautiful. Let's exit out of here. Now, we already configured our sub interface, which is considered our VLAN 10. We need to do the same thing for our VLAN 20. So what do you think we need to do? Come on, guess it. Yes, let's do an interface F for fast Ethernet 0/0, but it's going to be period 20. Hit enter. That brings the state up. Awesome. Like we did on VLAN 10, we got to do the same thing on VLAN 20. So we need to enable ECAP, but we're going to do a .1Q. We're going to do 20, right? Because we're dealing with VLAN 20, it's going to be 20. Awesome. Now we need to provide the IP address, which would be the default gateway, and provide the mask, which will be 24. Hit enter. Beautiful. I'm going to do a no shut. Awesome. Let's exit out of here. Exit out of here. Let's do a copy run start. You could do a WR if you want to write memory. And let's do a show run config. Hit enter. And let's hit space bar. Boom. Here it goes. Look at that. Awesome. So this is my VLAN 20. This is my VLAN 10. They already got the IP addresses. Everything is configured. Fast 01 was defaulted. We don't need it anymore because we are focused on one pipeline, right? So let's close this up. Everything is green. Perfect. Let's get into this computer and let's test stuff out. All right. So let's let's do a ping. I should be able to ping the switch, which is beautiful. Okay, we're able to ping the switch. That's great. Are we able to do the default gateway? Awesome. For labs, I think the other machine is 10. The first one is going to be the timeout because of ARP, but the following should be replies. Beautiful. The router is routing the way it's supposed to. So if I do that again, all 4 pings should reply with no problem. So that's great. We could do it the other way around. On this machine, on the machine that's on VLAN 20, we are going to do a ping. Let's see if we are able to ping the gateway. Awesome. Beautiful. Let's see if we are able to ping the machine in the other VLAN. Awesome. Gorgeous. I should be able to ping the default gateway of VLAN 10. Awesome. So the Inter-VLAN routing for a one connection between the router and the switch is working properly. I think should be able to. I don't think I'm able to ping the switch on this guy. Yeah, because it's on a different VLAN. So I'm not able to ping 002. Oh, actually, yeah, I was able to ping it. It's just ARP is taking a sweet time, but I'm able to ping. Oh, awesome. So it's routing properly. Cool. All right, so this is an Inter-VLAN routing setup using a layer, what is it? This is a layer 2 switch. But the router, one connection using sub interfaces to route everything properly. Cool. All right. So let's, this is good. Got a couple more crazy Inter-VLAN routing setups that we could configure. So I'm going to save this. We're going to do a save as. The next one that we are going to do would be, I'll show you real quick. Next one is going to be a layer 3 with a one interface setup. So that is what we are going to configure. So let me save this workspace and we need to configure stuff. So we are going to, oops, get out of here. Get out of here. We're going to delete you. Awesome. And we are going to bring a layer 3 switch. Now the layer 3 switch that I am going to use, let's get into the switches. And I am going to use a 3560, which is a layer 3 switch. Now I'm going to call this guy L3 switch. Awesome. Beautiful. Cool. And okay. With a layer 3 switch and a layer 2 switch, we will use a crossover cable. So we're going to use a crossover cable. Actually, we haven't configured anything yet, right, for the switch 3. Let me see something. I want to give it a really basic configuration. So I'm looking at my notes to do a basic configuration. Give me 1 second because I need to look at the settings. Okay, let me look at the U. Look at the settings. Okay, 01. I'm I'm looking at the settings with switch 1 because switch 1 is the one that's configured for trunk allow VLAN 1020. So I actually have to connect 1 to this guy. I'm going to connect it to 01. So 0101. But we need to configure you. So let's open you up and let's hit no for the initial configuration because we're going to do it manually. Let's do a EN. Let's do a config T. And we're going to configure this like very basic. And we're going to do it real fast. A layer 3 switch, I'm going to configure it the way I've been doing it with layer 2 switches. So very basic. We're going to do this real quick. So let's do a host name. We're going to do an L3 switch. Hopefully I can spell it right. Right, let me zoom in so you guys are able to see the craziness that I am doing. Let's do an IP domain name, BTNHD.edu. Let's do a username of admin with the secret of Cisco. We're going to enable the secret with the password of Cisco. We're going to configure the SSH, RSA, general keys, zoom in, zoom out, modulus of 1024, zoom in again. We're going to do IPSSHv2 for version 2. We're going to do a line console of 0. We're going to do a login local. We're going to do a line VTY04. We're going to do a login local. We're going to do a transport of import SSH enter. We're going to exit, and we could do a WR for write memory. That's going to copy the config. And we're able to do a show run config. So very basic. Didn't do anything to the ports, which is okay. I just basically configured the name and the SSH access if we need to do that later on. Okay, very basic stuff. So let's connect this. So again, we need to do a crossover cable. We're going to do fast 001 on the layer 3 switch, and we're going to connect it to fast Ethernet 01 on our layer 2 switch. Okie dokie. Let's get back into our layer 3 switch and let's configure it. So we did the crossover cable. It's connected. It's going to start complaining that it is not configured properly and all that stuff. So within our layer 3 switch, let's configure our VLAN. So let's do interface, actually config T. Okay, let's do interface VLAN 10. Awesome. Let's do IP address. Let's give it an IP. And this mask is going to be a 24. Awesome. And hit enter. Hopefully you guys are able to see. I don't know if you guys are able to see. I try to zoom in and zoom out. If I'm blocking it, I'll zoom out. Cool. Let's exit out of here. We're going to do VLAN. VLAN 20. Int VLAN 20. That brings it up, which is weird. I wonder if my VLAN 10 is up. We gotta check that IP address. Let's give it D4 gateway. Boop. We will check that out. T55, 255, 2550. Let's do a no shut. Awesome. Let's exit out of here real quick. Let me exit out of here. Let me do a show run config. I want to see something real quick. Okay, good. Show VLAN. Okay. All right, so VLAN 10 is not showing up in my table. That's not good. Let's do a T. Let's do it. There it goes. Had to bring it up. Now, when I because I only saw VLAN 20 active, but I didn't see VLAN 10. Let me exit out of here. Exit out of here. Let's do a show run config. Okay. This is good. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing VLAN 10 with the IP that I gave it, VLAN 20, but when I do the show VLAN, I didn't see VLAN 10 as active. Got to make sure your VLAN 10 is part of the VLAN table and it is active. Okay. Now, good. Let's get into config T. So we did everything that we needed to do. Give it the IPs. We need to, with the layer 3, we need to do IP routing. Okay. IP routing. Gotta do that first, because as soon as you establish that command, layer 3 is automatically set to routing mode. Now we need to configure this port so I could talk to this port properly and our network is able to route stuff correctly. So just for the hell of it, I didn't configure anything within this switch, layer 3 switch. So if you did, you could do a default interface FAS01. That would clear it out. Again, I didn't have anything in it, but just for best practice, wipe it clean. Let's get into interface FAS01. Awesome. Now let's configure it. Switch port is going to be a trunk. We are going to do a encapsulation. Oh, I was able to say it. I think I said it correctly. Nice. We're going to do a .1Q, hit enter. You need to configure this first before you start configuring or start doing the rest. If you do a switch port mode trunk, which I'm going to do now, you're going to get a lot of problems. So you need to do the encapsulation .1Q first before you enable or configure the switch mode trunk. Awesome. You see it? VLAN 1020 is up. Beautiful. We are going to do a switch port of trunk allowed VLAN. So what do you think the two VLANs that we need to allow? 10 and 20. Yes, beautiful. Awesome. Let's do a switch port of non-negotiate. Let's exit out of here, exit out of here. Let's do a copy run start. I mean, you could do copy run start or WR write memory. It's up to you. Does not matter which one you use, as long as it's, you know, whichever one you want. I could do a WR is faster than the copy run start one. Let's do a show run config. Let's look at our settings. 01, which is this guy right here. We did the trunk. Yep. Allow VLAN in 10. And we have our VLANs here. Okay, cool. Let's start testing out. So let's get into this PC. Let's get into the command prompt. Let me open this up a little bit. Boop. Awesome. And let's see. Let's start with the basic. Right? Am I able to ping the switch? Switch 1 is 10.0.0.2. I'm able to ping that. Am I able to ping the default gateway? The first one and the second one might be a timeout because of ARP, but afterwards it should kick in. There you go. Beautiful. Awesome. Let's go up a level. Let's see if we are able to ping the other computer on the other VLAN. Again, ARP is going to time out. ARP needs to do its thing behind the scenes. Beautiful. Excellent. If we run it again, all 4 replies should ping successful. Are we able to ping the default gateway of VLAN 20? Excellent. So this machine well, in this end, this network over here is able to do what it needs to do. It's routing properly. The layer 3 switch is configured properly. Awesome. Let's get into this machine, which is on VLAN 20. And am I able to ping the default gateway? So this is us just testing. Yeah, it's going to reply back. Awesome. Am I able to ping the switch? Might get a couple of timeouts, and that's ARP kicking in. And one request, and then the second and third and fourth should be okay. Am I able to ping the machine over in VLAN 10? Yes, we are able to ping it. So this Inter-VLAN routing with a layer 3 with one interface is configured properly. So this machine on VLAN 10 is able to ping the switch as well as ping the default gateway, and I'm able to ping this machine on VLAN 10 and vice versa. Awesome. So let's save this because I don't want to lose it. All right. So the last one that we are going to do today before we end this, copying the name, let's do a file, save as, and Control V. The last one today would be an Inter-VLAN routing, but now we're going to do a layer 3 configuration. So we're going to remove our layer 2 switch out of the picture and do the layer 3 because the layer 3 acts as a layer 2 and also a layer 3. Layer 3 does all the routing. Layer 2 switches does not do the routing. So let's click on save, and this will be for our last thing that we need to do. So what we are going to do is a lot of racing. So we're gonna kill you, kill you, kill you. Say goodbye. No, bye. We are going to, let's move you to the middle. Beautiful. Okay. Let's do some connections. So let's do a straight through. Reading my notes. Gotta read my notes. So okay. So before I even do anything, let's close out of this. Let's get into here. Okay. Let's do config. Let's do a show run config. And none of these ports are configured properly. None of these ports are configured properly. So let me take a note real quick. 02 to so 02 to 24 is not configured at all. So let's configure these ports real quick. And I'm going to configure it. I'm going to configure it like my basic configuration. And that would be, let's do an INT range. Fast 0, 1, 2 to 24. It's going to hit all these range. And we're going to do a switch port mode access. Enter. Let's do a switch mode access VLAN 10. I'm going to make them all VLAN 10. Don't worry about it. We're going to change it. Let's do a non-negotiate, and let's do a spanning tree of port fast. Enter. Beautiful. Let's exit out of here, exit out of here. Let's do copy, run, start. Man, you're able to do a WR. Let me check something out real quick. Okay, boom. Let's do a show run config. All right, so all of them are configured. All right, good. Nice basic configuration. Reason why I did that is because, you know, I should have configured it in the long run. I just did it really fast. But we need to configure the following. So let's close this. Let's connect everything. We are going to do a straight through, and we are going to do fast Ethernet. This is going to connect to 0, 2. You are going to be connected to 3, but 3 is configured with VLAN 10, right? But we need to change that. Let's change that real quick. Let's go into config T. We're going to do interface fast 0, 3. We're going to do a switch port access VLAN 20. Brings it up. Beautiful. Let's exit out of here. Exit WR to write memory. Show run config. Awesome. So port 2, well, port 1, this is what we did on the last setup. I'm not using that. I could have default that interface, like wipe it clean and use it, but I left it as is. Port 2, because I already configured all the ports in VLAN 10, port 2, which is set up to this guy is actually configured with VLAN 10. So port 2 is on VLAN 10. Everything was on VLAN 10, and I just configured port 3 to VLAN 20 because this one is VLAN 20. The switch already had VLAN 10's default gateway and VLAN 20's default gateway, so I did not have to do that. All I had to do is change the port of where this machine is configured to talk to the correct VLAN. Again, a layer 3 switch already does the routing for you, so you don't have to do any of that. And I think we also enabled IP routing on this, right? Did we? Let's scroll up. We enable IP routing onto this machine. Let's do on this machine, on this switch. Let's do a show run. Yeah, it's right here. IP routing is already configured on this switch. So it's going to do all the routing and everything. It's going to do a layer 2 and a layer 3. It's going to behave as those two type of switches into one. So if we get into this PC, let's go to command prompt and let's test everything out. I don't need to ping 10.0.0.2 because that was the switch IP address, but I am able to ping. Let's see if we are able to ping the default gateway. That is great. Beautiful. Am I able to ping VLAN's 20 gateway? Awesome. It's routing properly. Am I able to ping this machine over here using a layer 3? I should be able to ping it. The first and the second should be timeouts, but it looks like it was only the first one that did the timeout. If we run it again, all 4 of them should go straight through. Awesome. I think if we go into the switch level, I think the command is show, do a question mark, show ARP. There it goes. See? ARP table needs to be pre-populated, and it's already done. Great. So this PC is able to ping the default gateway for VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, and this machine is able to ping this machine over within VLAN 20. So can this machine do the same, vice versa? So let's try it out before we end this show. Wow, this was a good show. So let's ping the default gateway. That should go straight in super quick. Am I able to ping VLAN's 10 gateway? I shouldn't get any ARP timeouts because the ARP table within layer 3 is already populated with all this information, so it should be super quick. So the last test would be, am I able to ping this machine, which is all, over here, and it's configured with VLAN 10. It's cool. Cool. Yeah, and we could do show run config again, and I'm not using this port. See, port 02, port 03, different VLANs, It's just the way that layer 3 is configured because we enable IP routing. So it's doing all the routing for us. Awesome. Cool. Let's close this up. So this was a successful, man, this was pretty good. Yeah. Good, 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 good. So recap, basically we did an access mode, switch mode access with a router and a switch using two interfaces, VLAN 10, VLAN 20. We also did a trunk mode, switch mode, trunk with one interface doing sub interfaces. We did a sub interface of VLAN 10 and 20. We got that up and running. We remove our router and we added a layer 3 switch with still one pipeline directly to our layer 2 switch and configured our layer 3 to do all the routing for us. So that worked out pretty well. And the last exercise was taking our layer 2 out of the picture and then configuring our layer 3, which we already did on the previous working session. So the only thing that we had to do is just on the layer 3 configure this port right here. I'm not showing you this port right here to talk to the correct VLAN, which was VLAN 20, and that's it. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream, and I catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. All right, so I'll end it. All right, I think you end it this way. Later, guys. Is it over?